Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back. If you've been here before, today I want to kind of change things up a bit. So normally, I have my area all laid out and I know what I'm going to talk about. At least I have points of where I'm going with my video. Today, I just want to kind of not exactly vent, maybe a little venting, but also I just want to encourage any esthetician that is experiencing burnout, because that is a real thing. And I'm sure that's a real thing in every industry, but I'm an esthetician, I know skincare, I don't know every other industry. So first, let me just tell you about myself as far as recently and the burnout that I've been experiencing. And I've experienced burnout on many different levels, but recently it was different because I've created a business around my career as an esthetician. And so in the past, it was easy for me to just be like, I just want to find another job or whatever. But trying to stay focused and build a business based on a career that you are not aligning with, at least in that season, is, I don't have a word for it, but it definitely can feel like your world is coming to an end. It's not, but it feels that way. Anyways, also, I just wanted to, so I just got out the shower, okay? It is like, let's see, what time is it? Not even 5 o'clock, but I'm feeling like just having an early night in, and I already took a shower, so I'm gonna do some skincare with these new products that I just got. So first of all, let me just say that, first of all, let me put something on my lips, because there's nothing worse than talking to a camera with dry lips. Whoa, that was way too much. And I'm trying not to do like too much editing and all that with this video, so I might have to though, because I get carried away. Okay, first of all, I just got out the shower, cleansed my face, and my skin is already drying, so I want to make sure that I move quickly here, because it's best to, kind of have not wet skin, but just damp skin. If you're an esthetician, then you already know this. But anyways, I just purchased 2 new products. I cleared out my medicine cabinet. Here, I'll show you. I still have plenty of things in there. This camera wants to detect my face and not what it needs to at the moment. But anyways, so I cleared out my medicine cabinet because I'm trying to be more minimalistic. I got carried away after I closed down my spa room. I just took all those products, and of course I've been using them because why not? But I felt like, like it was just too much to choose from. So I got rid of all those, not all of them, but I got rid of like the products that I was getting low on. I was just like, I'm just going to continue to use this specific product every day until it's gone. And, as an esthetician, we move off of our skin's unique need at that moment. And so, thankfully, all of my products are just like, nothing is very intense. I mean, I do use actives, but nothing crazy. So anyways, I just purchased some pigment brightening serum and from Glymed. Another thing is, sorry, I'm all over the place, but another thing is I have tried other brands, and not saying that Glymed is the absolute best product you can find, but I will say they're good. They're good to me, and you know, it's more than just the ingredients. So the ingredients for me are really good, but also just as an esthetician. So when I first started out, well, most estheticians, when you first start out, you know, you have to fill your back bar. And what I've found is that a lot of places, they want you to do this crazy minimum order. And, you know, especially right now where I don't have a treatment room. So I'm not trying to carry $2,000 worth of product just to, you know, and I'm not trying to pay full price for products when I have an account with Glymed and I can get everything wholesale and there's no minimum order. And so it works for me and I'm gonna stick with them, okay? But anyways, back to Burnout. Yeah, so there was a season in my life where, you know, I was on my journey with the Lord, and I really just didn't know if I wanted to be an esthetician anymore. Like, that was a real thing for me. And so, you know, at the time, I had a business and I wrapped up my business, and I had a job that had absolutely nothing to do with skincare. But then of course you start to miss it. And so I started slowly getting back into it. And then eventually that led me into teaching. And once I became an instructor, I thought that this was the end all be all of my career, and you know, I still teach online for the most part, but I thought that I was going to stay at these schools, and you know, God had other plans. And even after I left being an educator, I got to this place where I did not care about skin. I did not care about skin at all. I cared about my mental health at the time because it had plummeted so bad. If you've ever been an instructor, you know, teaching a classroom of women, like 20 plus women every day, it can really get to you. So I got to this place where I no longer wanted to even think about skincare, just my own skin. All I cared about was my own skin. I didn't care about the industry. But then it came back to me and I was like, you know what? I want to get back into, it took me about a year, by the way, but I was like, you know what? I want to start a business. And obviously I have an education in aesthetics, and I also have an educator's, you know, like I'm also a licensed educator. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna open a spa room. It was familiar to me. I've already done it. And I felt like the Lord was pushing me to do that. And I did do it. And then after 6 months, I was like, I don't want to be sitting in a spa room every day, trying to get clients. And even when I did get clients, I enjoyed parts of it, but my heart was just not there. But I was just like, I know God led me to start this business. Like, I can't just quit. So what happened was I was like, well, maybe I'm just under a lot of pressure right now. You know, like I'm moving, and maybe I just need to, you know, settle in a transition right now, which I went to completely online. And that's where I've been for the past, well, in this video, it will be 6 months. And, you know, my business is coming up on 1 full year. I've been an esthetician for going on 8 years, but yeah, so I just was like, what do I do? What do I do? You know, like I love skincare to a point, but I started to realize, you know, I like skincare when it comes to educating others, you know, encouraging other estheticians, but I don't necessarily want to do this full time. And so I really had to take some time and think about it. And I really feel led to just move on that moment of how I feel, like there's a reason why these feelings are stirring up. And so let me just take the focus off of me for a second. And, let me just get back to helping someone else in their burnout. So anyways, it's a true thing. It's a real thing. And so, one thing I always tell, because currently I do mentor estheticians. It's not the focus of my business, but I've been offering it, and I've found that I like this way more than I do doing one-on-one skin consultations. So one thing that I like to tell, new estheticians, or even if you've been in the industry for a while, but you've kind of just lost your way, you don't know exactly what you want to do in this industry, because of course it's always changing. And so I just tell my mentees to just go back to that moment when you first signed up for school. And I'm pretty sure all schools do this, to where they have you like write a letter to yourself, create some kind of board or vision board of where you see yourself as an esthetician. And so go back to that original plan, because that's going to help you. Obviously you're going to evolve, but that's going to really help you navigate this industry, because this industry is all over the place. 18-year-olds are getting Botox, and people are peeling their skin off left and right. And while I think that there's a purpose for all different treatments, and I think that there's some really amazing treatments and some really amazing estheticians, I think that once a trend comes around, all the estheticians feel like they need to rush into that, because that's where the money is flowing. And not saying maybe you might try it and you might love it, but personally for me, I don't want to inflict pain on people and do microneedling or lasers. And listen, I think they have amazing results. By the way, I've gotten those treatments before, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to flip beds over, a new client, you got to flip everything over. I don't want to do that. And not saying that there's anything wrong with the person that wants to do that, but my thing was, when I first started out as an esthetician, is I was into the health and wellness, the holistic side of things. And so I like talking about how, just internally keeping yourself healthy, how that reflects on the skin, working out, how that just keeps things tight and in place, and like your circulation flowing. Like, I love talking about those things, and not everyone wants that. A lot of people, they just want quick fixes, which, that's fine, but I don't want to force myself into things in the industry just because it's making money or just because it's trending. I don't measure myself as an esthetician based on those things. And I'm not saying that I never have, because that would be a lie that I'd be telling myself. I've definitely been in this place where I'm like, I don't even know if I belong in this industry. As an educator that worked at an advanced aesthetic school, watching young women, put filler in their face, Botox, constantly getting resurfacing treatments, when you, as a youthful young woman, you got it. You're resurfacing at a normal level, yeah, we can always use a little boost here, but I just felt like morally, those things did not sit right with me. So it made it hard for me as an educator. And that's why I think God was like, okay, it's time to go. You know, I definitely learned so much being an educator. I feel like I was there to learn more than anything else. And, you know, I do see the benefits. Like I said, I see the benefits in so many different treatments. I'm not knocking treatments. I'm saying that, and I think I'm getting all over the place right now, but I'm saying, you know, certain things in the industry were not aligned with me. And so it made me question myself as an esthetician. Like, do I even belong in this industry when I know for a fact that God led me here and he led me into this business, and as a steward of this business, I feel a responsibility to continue to produce whatever content, you know, services. But when you're just like not into it, you know, how do you do that? And so one thing the world will tell it, because I'm all about Jesus. I follow the Lord, and you know, there's God's way and then there's the world's way. And one thing the world will tell you to do is like, you know, be consistent. And yeah, consistency is good, but like be consistent, don't take breaks. You know, like you need to post 3 days a week or 4 days, and you need to do this many reels and this many posts and the algorithm and blah 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 blah. You know, like that's what the world is telling us. And so there are times in business that I felt like I was failing because I was not in a season where I felt creative, where I wanted to produce. You know, I was in a season where I was battling with, what even is this business? Like, what am I? What am I doing? You know? And so I didn't want to produce content from that place. And, you know, I did a fast, okay? And I did a 40-day fast, and no, I did not eat food, but I did a fast, okay? And I did get confirmations within that 40 days of fasting. And so speaking of the fast, I did a 40-day fast. It was, if you're not familiar with Daniel fasting, sorry, I have a video about Daniel fasting. And so pretty much Daniel fasting is normally a 21-day fast. And so what I did is just extended it to 40 days, okay? No, I did not do 40 days of water. I pray the Lord never calls me to that. But yeah, so I did 40 days fasting. And yes, I did get plenty of confirmations, but also I got confused because I won't say confusion, but I got to a place where, you know, what I have been creating was not, I felt like God was not telling me to continue down this road. Like I felt like he was pivoting me. And so that led me into confusion and led me into, you know, well, why did I even start this? You know, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did you lead me to this? Why did you lead me to that? Lots of questions, okay? And God is not the author of confusion. But really it was just mostly about surrendering my idea of what I thought this business should look like, you know, comparing myself to other estheticians and successful estheticians, you know. I started a business because I wanted it to be successful, but I also wanted God to be at the center. So also feeling like I'm failing God in stewarding, you know, the gift that he's even given me to create a business, you know. And so I feel like I've gotten so far away from, but you know what? I did say that I was just going to get on here and speak, and whatever naturally has flown out of my mouth. You know, I pray it be the Holy Spirit and not my flesh. But, you know, I just want to confirm and I just want to validate your feelings as an esthetician. And maybe your burnout looks completely different than mine, but it is a real thing, and it's not a fault or a flaw of you, of the person. You know, it just takes some really like deep diving into alone time. For me, that's with God, you know. And that's honestly what I recommend. I honestly don't recommend like chakras and all that other crazy crystals. I'm not into that at all, and I don't promote that. I promote Jesus Christ, okay? So that is my biggest, best advice, is to seek the Lord. Seek Him on clarity, seek Him on confirmations, seek Him on guidance, seek Him on ideas. You know, like, okay, so first of all, your girl does use ChatGPT to help sometimes, you know, create just to help, just to have someone, you know, like go back, you know, like if you were holding a business meeting with a couple of people, you know, just having that interaction going back and forth. So, you know, hey, chat, that's been her for me. But God has the final say. You know, God is the author of my story, at least. And yeah, you know, I do get in my flesh a lot, and I do things in my own power, my own strength. Well, I try to, and then I realize, you know, I really can't. But not saying that I've arrived anywhere, but I will say that, you know, surrendering it to the Lord has made it less of a burden on my shoulders. So I don't feel like a failure. I feel like I'm just an employee, but yeah, really, I just feel like, you know, I'm an employee, and, you know, I'm rolling with whatever God changes. You know, companies change things all of the time. And so, yeah, it lifts the burden off of me to just be like, you know, this is God's plan. This is God's story. This is God's business. You know, I don't have to carry all of that. But burnout is real. And, you know, if you need to step away, and I don't know what that looks like for you, because not everyone can just step away like that. You know, like, we got to make money, we got to support our families. You might have a full business, you know, but you need to take some time and really align yourself with what feels right to your core. You know, don't get so caught up in what everyone else is doing and what's trending in the industry, because these trends are going to continue to change forever and ever and ever. So I just want to leave you with that, you know. And I hope that helps, because I just felt like I just went on a complete ramble, but it also helped. I feel good because I relieved that. I have been carrying that burden because, you know, I'm all about aesthetics. Okay, I like to look good. Even with my, you know, my social media, I'm very intentional about the things that I post, because I'm not just posting because, you know, like, I might be creating ideas because, but like, the content that I produce, I want it to look really good. And so, you know, feeling like a failure, or, you know, like, or feeling like you don't have all the answers, you know, like, that doesn't totally speak like confident, like, I look good, you know. That looks like, you know, like, I'm tucking my tail, I'm running to the Lord, and I'm like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing, but, you know, you brought me this far, so Jesus, take the wheel. No, but yeah, seriously. And I do plan on creating more content for the esthetician, you know, the struggling esthetician, Because even though we're in the beauty industry, it's not all pretty. It's really not. And I'm sure that's for any industry, and whatever, that's their business. I'm here for the esthetician, okay? And I'm here for the ladies. I am here for the ladies, for the people, not just estheticians. But that's my strongest, I guess, skill in life is aesthetics. So anyways, enough rambling. I just gotta do something with this hair, but my skincare is done. Like I said, I'm keeping it simple. I don't have a 10-step skincare regimen. I don't even really get services like that. Maybe once a year, twice a year. Keeping it simple, okay? So I hope that you enjoyed or even got just a small nugget from this that encouraged you in any kind of way. And I will see you in my next video.